Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and pleasure to host you for this informal part of our ceremony. Indeed, it is the second part where we focus on the celebration of our students who have graduated and also those who are outstanding, to whom awards and prizes will be given. What makes this even more special is that it is our first comprehensively in-person graduation ceremony since COVID struck. Indeed, COVID did strike, and many of our loved ones were taken away from us, most who could have been here today celebrating with us. However, may this sadness not take away from the joy of today. To kickstart our program is our Dean of Law, Professor Elsa B. Skuman, who will give her remarks and also present the Dean's Issei Prize. Prof, please, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kurasha. It is a pleasure for me to welcome you yet again, and I think our graduates should just stand up and applaud yourselves. This is the informal part of the ceremony today. So you're allowed to be happy, you're allowed to be loud. And I want to see those smiles on the faces. So a very warm welcome to all our honored guests. You were already welcomed by the Vice Principal, so I'm not going to repeat that again. Just to say, you know, we are lawyers, so just to be sure, all protocol observed. Then I would like to welcome our new graduates. You are the most important people here today. A very warm welcome to you. You are a very special group of graduates. We've had 2 COVID years, and then you started in COVID, and you were actually able to escape from COVID. So you are a very special group, half COVID, half non-COVID. This is the first time that we have this ceremony and this celebration on campus again officially since the lockdown. So you are really special, and I hope that you will also carry that with you, that you started in COVID, you persevered, you were able to move out of COVID, and with a degree. So well done to all of you. I would also like to welcome all the family, the partners, the friends, the colleagues, every single person who walked with you on this journey, every single person who supported you when times were tough, every person who was there to just hold your hand at certain stages through this journey. We all know that sometimes with a degree, the closer you get to the end, the harder it gets, right? And often you need that person just to stand by you to make sure that you complete your degree. Now, as Dean, you will know that I'm very proud of the Center for Human Rights. Personally, I can take no credit for what the Center does. And so I would also like to thank the Center today, Professor Viljoen, the Director, and all the wonderful colleagues in the Center for the huge effort that they put in. When you're in the law faculty, my office is just on top of the Center. There's always activity in the Center. And it's good to see people being busy with important things, with human rights. So to everybody from the Center, a very heartfelt thank you for the huge work that you're doing in this sphere, not only in South Africa, but across the continent and also globally. Professor Viljoen, under your able directorship, the Center has gone from strength to strength. And during the lockdown even, you still rose higher and higher. So thank you very much, and all credit to everybody who contributes in a very, very significant way. We know that we find ourselves in very difficult times at the moment, not only in South Africa and not only on the African continent, but across the world. And I think what we are looking for is hope, something that we can cling on to during these difficult times. You witnessed today how we had to wait for the load shedding to pass, to start, to end, I'm not sure, before we could start the ceremony. It's almost become a part of our lives. But what we do here is really, really important, because this is what will eventually free us from these limitations. So what I want to say to the graduates this afternoon is, you've now obtained your degree, you have a wealth of knowledge, insight, and also experience. You can see, I'm old, but you are young, and we depend on you to take us forward, to take humanity forward. So with all the glory of obtaining a degree, also comes the responsibility. You know, we always talk about rights and responsibilities, or rights and duties in law. One is just the flip side of the coin of the other. And therefore, with this qualification that you have obtained today, comes the responsibility to contribute what you have learned, and also the research that you will still do in the future. Because I know those who received master's degrees today, they will come back for doctorates. We've seen that. And it is your responsibility to go into your communities where you find yourselves, places of authority where you find yourselves, and spread the word. So that is my wish, that this cohort of graduates will go out there and make a difference, make a real contribution, and be proud of that contribution that you can make to society. Each one of you is unique, and you should also treasure that. Thankfully, we are not all the same, and we should not all be the same. But that is why you as an individual can make a difference, but you can also make a huge difference as a member of a team. So that is my wish to you, that you will go out into the world and make that difference. Humanity depends on you and relies on you. I would now like to call on 5 of our students, and I've been asked to say the following. I've been scripted. The following students of the class of 2022 are completing the HRDA program with a view to graduating in 2023. So I would like to call to the stage Reda Bengadra. Are you coming? Zanele Fengu. Lev Kassab. Kobo Ngiza. And Omar van Reenen. Wishing you all the very best for next year, and I hope to see you on the stage next year. Hoping to see you on the stage next year, right? Absolutely. Thank you. thank you very much, and wishing those students the very best. So it's also my honor and privilege each year to award 3 essay prizes. Towards the end of this program, the students are asked to write a short essay, 2 pages or so, and then we select the top 3 and they receive a prize. It is a very small amount, sponsored by the Dean. And before I call out the names, I just want to say that when I read the essays this year, it's always very interesting. During the COVID years, COVID was like a dark cloud. And, you know, everything was about COVID. It's very interesting this year that the essays, as I said, you've escaped from COVID, and so have these essays as well. So there are still references to COVID, but I think the emphasis has shifted somewhat. And I've seen and read about how students struggle to get into this program. You know, it's not easy to get into this program. There are not many places in the program. You also see students who have tried repeatedly, and then on the 3rd attempt or so, they were admitted to the program. We also have students who were admitted, but then did not have the financial means to pursue the program. We also find students who had to make huge sacrifices in order to come here and travel elsewhere to complete the program. So I think if I can sum it up, all students here have not only worked very hard, but sacrificed much. And for each student graduating, it is a huge achievement, because this was not easy and it was not served on a platter. What I see from the essays as well is that this is tough. So the Center for Human Rights, they've got very high standards. And students have written here that they had to work very hard, they had to read so much, they were immersed in the literature, but they don't complain about that. Universally, they attest to these qualifications having enriched them, having equipped them with new research skills, methodologies, and how they've grown as a group. So not only the academic part of this, of their studies, but also the contact with other students, the networks that they have built. It all comes out of these essays. And I think, if I have to summarize, in all these essays, you can see that there's a huge personal element in every single one, a huge personal element, and then there is the academic element. And that's very good for me to see, because I do believe that universities are not ivory towers. Academic qualifications, it's something that's real. It's something that you have to live out in your daily life. You have to use this in your community to contribute, to make a difference. We know that we live in a society that is very, very unequal. So it is for us to promote social justice. And that's why, for me, it's heartening to see that in each of these essays, there's that personal element, but also that academic and professional element. So it's always very nice for me to read these essays. Thank you very much, Dr. Karasha, for managing the entries for this, competition, small competition. And I would like to now call the 3 students. I don't want to actually say the winning students, because everybody is a winner. It's very difficult to decide, but after having had to make very, very tough decisions, I want to call the following graduates. Jonas Sandani, Emmanuel Tioko, Mosopatsila Nare. I'm just going to wait for all three. So, Jonas, you won the first prize. Congratulations. And as they say, your check will be in the mail. It's actually going to be in your bank account. Congratulations. Congratulations. Emmanuel, you were awarded the second prize. And as I said, the money will be in your bank account. Congratulations. Mosopatsila, you were awarded the third prize. Congratulations. You will receive some money. Congratulations. I think I've now come to the end of my part of the program. Thank you very much for bearing with me, and it is really nice to be with you here today. I would also like to wish you a very joyous, peaceful and restful festive season, a great summer, and please do take care, look after yourselves, and all the very best from me. Thank you.
Right, so the LLM MPhil Masters in Human Rights and Democratization in Africa is partially sponsored by the European Union. And so on behalf of the EU Ambassador to South Africa, Her Excellency Sandra Kramer, Inga Februel, head of the political and press section of the European Union, will come and give remarks. Please, Inga Februel.
Madam Vice Principal, Ministers, Ambassadors, Professors, graduates. First, let me thank you, the University of Pretoria, for inviting me as representative of the European Union to be part of this ceremony. It is a pleasure to join you at this master graduation ceremony of the Center for Human Rights of the University of Pretoria on the eve of this year's International Day for Human Rights. Established in 1986 as part of the domestic efforts against the apartheid system, the Centre has done a remarkable job in the promotion and improvement of human rights in South Africa, in the region and on the continent. And the European Union is proud to have been part of that journey and to support the education of the next generation of professionals in the field of human rights and democracy. The Centre's aim to advance human rights is more important than ever. The world faces ever new challenges, such as pandemics, conflicts, exploding inequalities, rampant disinformation, racism, climate emergency, shrinking space for civil society, the erosion of law, or the digitalization of our lives. Both in Africa and Europe, the economic crisis has exacerbated inequalities and the social divide and endangered many basic human rights. Human rights violations and abuses are multiplying around the world. These add to an ever-growing list of violations across the world that remain the focus of our attention. Russia's aggression on Ukraine, the continuing grave violations and abuses in Afghanistan, Belarus, Ethiopia, Myanmar, or Russia, as well as the recent violent crackdown on peaceful protesters on Iran. In front of all these challenges, the values and rights enshrined in the UN Declaration, we will turn 75 years old next year, continue to be a lighthouse for our collective and individual actions. The European Union was founded exactly on the same values that we apply in our internal and external policies. In the European Union, we have put human rights at the heart of our own future and of our internal and external relations. And we will continue to uphold the universality of human rights and exercise vigilance against any attempt to undermine international commitments. In these difficult times, we need to redouble efforts, and to do so, we need to be guided by expertise, which is why the European Union is investing not only in building up human rights capacity within its own borders, but also in the next generation of human rights experts in South Africa and beyond, who is in front of me today. The European Union is committed to fight against all human rights violations and abuses, and we invest in the protection and promotion of human rights. As you all know, the Global European Union Action Plan on Human Rights and Democracy for 2020 to 2024 is a reflection of how the European Union sees the current landscape for human rights and how we aim to work to make sure the European Union plays a greater role in promoting and defending human rights and democracy given today's world new challenges. The global action. Let me mention here the signing of a recent grant with the University of Pretoria Center for Human Rights for a project which aims at the strengthening, effective and meaningful implementation of international human rights treaties and norms in South Africa. We look forward to its implementation and to strengthen our value relationship with the University of Pretoria. Dear students, let me again congratulate you for your achievements. You can count with us. You can count with the European Union. You can knock the door of the EU delegations to promote a global system based on human rights and democracy for the benefit of us all. Many thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Fabrel. In our midst as well is Ms. Voix Aurélie. It's been an honor organizing this with you. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Malawian High Commissioner to South Africa, Her Excellency Stella Ndau. Thank you, ma'am, for coming. We shall now have remarks on behalf of the Human Rights and Democratization in Africa Council of Directors from Professor Yusang Mariasin.
Allow me to stand on all existing protocols and say good afternoon to everyone. Congratulations, class of 2022, every single person graduating. The interesting and somewhat unique thing about graduation or the completion of a program is that it represents both an end and a beginning. How a person navigates that unique and interesting phase is crucial. Yet, there is no fixed formula. So, how does one do that? What do you do at that point? And how do you navigate this unique space? In my opinion, there are three things to look at or to focus on. First is personal accountability, and that is not necessarily negative. It's an overall look at yourself. You look inwards. You look at the year, the 2 years, however long your program, your course, or whatever it is took. And all domains, the academic aspect, the social aspect, the spiritual aspects, the emotional, or what have you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What did I take out of it? What could I do better? Why? You need them going forward. You also want to focus on self-reflection. First of all, what does that mean? It's not just looking internally, but it's actually a moment to take it all in, to breathe, to let go of the tension. You release it all, and then really say, this is it, so that you don't plunge into a state of anticlimax and then you stay in a state of despair. So take it all in, release the tension, and just breathe. The third thing you need to focus on is what I call moving on. But moving on is not just about moving on to the next thing, but it's about moving forward. And what moving forward is unique to each single individual. You have to think about it. Take it all in your strides and take a moment to decide the direction you're taking. So you need to take a time to remove yourself. Professor Skuman was talking about the team, but you need that moment to just look at you. And how do you do that? One of the things that I've found helpful, from personal experience. Flash your mind back to that moment when you heard about whatever the program it is that you're doing, even a PhD, and when you decided, this is what I want to do, I'm going to apply for this, or I'm going to prepare for it. What were your aspirations? What were your goals? What was your vision? That is the time to take stock and say, now, how close am I to that vision, or how far? That way you can really take intelligent and practical steps towards getting closer in that direction. So you have to focus on learning how to choose your battles wisely so as not to lose the war. What is the war in this case? Your goals, your life's visions, the desires you have to be a better person, to make life better for you, your loved ones, your friends, and humanity at large. So pick what matters, what will drive me closer to that overall vision so that you don't get distracted and find yourself losing along the way. Don't get stuck on the past or on issues. Reflect, forget about all the other issues along the way, and then decide, now this is the direction I'm heading in, and then plunge into the future and all its possibilities and uncertainties with courage, with hope, with faith, and with a sense of adventure. On behalf of the HRDA Partners, Council of Directors, I say congratulations to the class of 2022 and all the very best. Thank you.
And now, from the HRDA class of 2022 itself, their class rep, please, Ms. Zanele Fengu. Yes, you can make all the noise.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we can all admit that it's been a pretty interesting year. Many highs, many lows. We faced so many challenges. Challenges we faced individually, but also challenges that we faced as a collective. And there were so many storms. The fact that we are all sitting here today is evidence of the fact that we managed to weather every single one of them. And that would not have been possible without the support received from the various individuals and organizations we interacted with throughout the year, and we are grateful for this support. For the knowledge and skills instilled in us this year, we thank our lecturers and program facilitators. For helping to sharpen this understanding and all this information, we thank our tutors, Lorna, Clement, Wilson, and Maristella. For pushing us to translate this knowledge into actionable products with relevance in the world in which we operate, we thank our clinic supervisors. For the academic and administrative support and for sticking ever so closely to us, we thank Prof. Magnus, Maggie, Johannes, Maristella, and Primrose. For the facilitation in providing a memorable second semester destination in a different country on the continent and the life-changing experiences that were granted to many of us, we thank the partners and the second semester coordinators. For the support and tireless effort made throughout the year, we thank the entire Center for Human Rights staff. We are particularly grateful to the executive of the Center for Human Rights, Prof. Franz, Prof., not Dr., Prof. Ngata, and Lloyd. We thank you for your administrative and just your instrumental leadership and direction, and for meeting the financial obligation of what was actually a priceless year. We thank the generous donors who supported many of us. Sitting here, we represent 19 different nationalities. We are grateful for the investment that our countries have made in us. And we are particularly grateful for the South Africans who accommodated us here over 7 months in this year. To my classmates, thank you for making this year so memorable. In all our differences, we came together to consciously or unconsciously build one another. We have all played an incremental role in each other's lives. To the challengers, Kennedy, Emmanuel, Farirai, Florence, Olabisi, and Justin. Through your curiosity and relentless pursuit of knowledge, you encouraged us to all participate more meaningfully in the world around us. In your valor, you spoke your mind. You picked our brains, and you challenged us to be more conscientious people. People who don't just act on impulse, but apply thought, intention, and wisdom to the situations they face. To the pioneers, Ilif, Obo, Kaune, and Omar, you placed yourselves in the front line of many battles countless times throughout the year. For some, being in such a position would result in bitterness and resentment, yet you always remained kind and gracious. Placing your heart on your sleeve, you demonstrated emotional intelligence, mental strength, and most inspiring, an unbreakable spirit. Your very existence is challenging the status quo, and you have shown, yes, and you have shown that your life and your mere existence on this planet is activism in and of itself. To the defenders, Penyo, Elem, Natu. Whether through sharing your notes with the entire class, or simply being there as the glue that silently held everyone together, your generosity and your selflessness helped those around you to breathe. You spoke for the voiceless, and you stood in the gap to protect those who needed it most. To the harmonizers, Jonas, Sinesio, Eva, Mosu, Henok, and Bernice, your presence in the class brought an atmosphere of tranquility and calm. Whenever you were around, those besides you always seemed so rested and at peace. Through your humor, your smiles, your jokes, your calming words, and sometimes even your silence, you provided us with a space to recharge. Never judgmental and relating to everyone with the same degree of respect, wisdom, and humility, you were our resting place. To the idealists, Meron, Shireen, Gerald, Efua, and Milord Farouk, you were the visionaries who, in the midst of everything, kept us all committed to the goal of unity and harmony. You saw gold where everyone else saw dust. You saw the best in every situation and the best in every single person. Always forgiving and always of service, you pulled the right strings and said the right words to set every broken piece right again. For us as a class, today marks the end of one chapter, but the beginning of a new one. Going on to join whatever organizations you will be joining, be it an NGO, government, business, we will surely face more challenges, more tasks, and find ourselves clueless. But know that you are prepared and equipped, intellectually, mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually. Let the very same force that led you here continue to lead you on your path. This HRDA cohort represents the emerging type of Africa's human rights defenders. They represent a higher caliber of human rights defenders on this continent. They are intelligent, they are fearless, they are conscientious, they are passionate, they are enthusiastic, they are justice sensitive, they are diverse, they're vocal. They view human rights not just as a career field or an academic discipline. For them, it transcends documents and declarations. For them, human rights is not just studied and written about, it is lived. It is a way of life. It is their way of life. I told Fufu I wouldn't cry. Okay, these are the people who recognize that human rights can only be understood by recognizing our common humanity. By being human and recognizing the humans around us, we are able to be better human rights defenders. Guys, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I hope your Twitter following grows. I hope to read your published works and see you on TV. And I know you will go on to achieve great things, meaningful things. But above all, in everything you do, may you never lose cognizance of the human in human rights. My name is Zanele Fengu, and it's been a pleasure being your class rep for 2022.
Who would want to come up after that? Well done, Zanele. Up next is the Vera Chirwa Award, a very important award, and to introduce it and the recipients of the Vera Chirwa Award, will be Professor Nkata Muringi and Mr. Lloyd Kuvea, our assistant directors in the Center for Human Rights. Please.
Good afternoon, honorable guests. So for those who don't know me, which I doubt, my name is Davina Merden and I am the HRD Alumni Coordinator. Today is an exciting day, especially for the graduating HRD class of 2022. These 10 months were not easy, but you made it. So let us give a big round of applause to the new members of what we call the Pretoria Mafia Alumni Network. As you may be aware, the Center instituted the Vera Chirwa Human Rights Award in 2006 in recognition of Vera Chirwa's personal sacrifice and contribution to the protection and promotion of human rights in Africa. Born in Malawi, Vera Chirwa is best known for defying the authoritarian regime of Kamuzu Banda in order to restore democracy, justice, and liberty in Malawi. Even today, she remains a human rights champion in her home country, across the continent and the globe. Among us today, we have two great human rights activists, both alumni of the HRD program, who are following the path of Vera Chirwa, driven by their commitment to fight for human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to announce that the Vera Chirwa Award for the year 2022 goes to Professor Redson Edward Kapindu from Malawi and Honorable Yvonne Dusab from Namibia. I will now invite Professor Murungi and Mr. Kuvea to introduce our two awardees to you. Thank you.
Good evening. Good afternoon. We are not supposed to say that. Thank you very much. As has been mentioned by Davina, the coordinator of the alumni network, the HRD alumni, this award, the Vera Chirwa Award, seeks to recognize the contribution of alumni of the HRDA program towards making a difference in the protection of human rights and strengthening democratization in Africa. It's a huge mandate, but it is something that all the alumni of this program get prepared for and have the opportunity to do. But a few of us do it better than others, and that is why we recognize the effort of those that are receiving the award today. I have the singular pleasure of introducing one of the two awardees today, who is the Honorable Minister for Justice, Ms. Yvonne Dusab, from the Republic of Namibia. She is a human rights activist with many hats, and her activism spreads far back into school days, if I could put it that way. Back in her student days, in the agitation for the abolition of Bantu education, and ultimately for the liberation of her country, Namibia. In the years since, she has used different tools, different platforms to advocate for the protection of human rights for different categories of rights and groups of people, especially vulnerable and marginalized groups, in this case particularly making a case for the rights of children, for persons with disabilities, for members of the LGBTQI community, alongside other social justice initiatives and causes. She has also been a teacher of law and human rights, especially at the University of Namibia. And I would say that it is difficult. It's been difficult for me to rehash this timeline without having to get into a lot of the details. But maybe if I could just try to put this in perspective. Ms. Yvonne Joseph graduated from UWC in 1997. UWC, we are fellow alumni. In 2009, in 2001, she graduated from the master's program, from this degree program. And subsequently, in 2009, she joined the Faculty of Law at the University of Namibia, and eventually, or ultimately, she was the Deputy Dean and the Supervising Attorney for the Legal Aid Clinic at the University of Namibia. Before that, she had been practicing law in private practice, and has also, in very unloyally fashion, been a broadcaster with the Namibian Broadcasting Commission. As you can agree with me, this is quite a huge or a diverse curriculum, if I would put it that way, of the things that she has done. But in more recent years, Ms. Joseph has been the chairperson of the Law Reform and Development Commission of Namibia, and ultimately in 2020, she was appointed the Minister of Justice. I am very privileged, not because we went to UWC together, but also because I happen to know her and her passion for the protection of human rights and for the various, putting herself forward to speak and to stand for issues of social justice, particularly in as far as protection of the rights of marginalized groups is concerned. So I am very, very honored to present you today. And even though we will then have the next, the second awardee introduced, and then we will give you an opportunity to address us. Thank you.
A very good evening, ambassadors, ministers, distinguished delegates, class of 2022. It is my privilege and honor to introduce to you the second recipient of the Vera Chirwa Award. He also wears many hats, just like the Honorable Minister. Not only is he a judicial officer in the Superior Courts of Malawi, but he's also a distinguished academic. Currently, he is a High Court judge in Malawi, serving as judge in charge of the newly established Financial and Economic Crimes Division of the High Court of Malawi. He is also a visiting professor of law at the University of Johannesburg and part-time associate professor of law at the University of Malawi. I couldn't, list everything that he has done, but I chose to select a few of the things that I thought would be very important for me to mention. Firstly, looking at his previous work experience, he was admitted to practice as a legal practitioner in Malawi in November 1999. He started also working in the corporate sector when he joined the Reserve Bank of Malawi as legal counsel from 1999 to November 2001. In the same year, 2001, he left the Reserve Bank of Malawi to work for the Malawi Human Rights Commission as the Deputy Director of Legal Services. After that, he joined the South Africa Institute for Advanced Constitutional Human Rights and International Law, SIFAC, and he worked there from 2007 to 2010. From 2010 to 2013, he worked as a lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. Now, looking at his education, He also obtained his Bachelor of Laws degree in 1999 at the University of Malawi. He then enrolled at the University of Pretoria, Center for Human Rights, and he obtained his Master of Laws degree in Human Rights and Democratization in Africa with distinction in 2004. So you can see that the Honorable Judge distinguished himself academically and also professionally. Academic research, I couldn't really go through everything that you have done and that has been published. I just chose to cite one particular publication, or rather a book chapter, because I thought that it was relevant to your current position. And that is the book chapter entitled The Relevance of International Law in Judicial Decision-Making in Malawi, which was published in 2015. So, you can all agree with me that this has been a distinguished career. But for me, what I would really consider perhaps his most significant contribution to human rights, rule of law, and democracy comes in the area of development of significant jurisprudence. And I just want to mention the particular case that you were involved in, Honorable Judge, which is the electoral petition in Malawi. I am aware that you've made many decisions with a significant impact to consolidate democracy and the advancement of human rights in Malawi. But perhaps for me, the most recent decision in the electoral petition in 2019-2020 is the highlight. Just a brief description of that particular case. Following the announcement of the results for the presidential elections by the Malawi Electoral Commission on 25 May 2019, in which the incumbent, Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, was declared the winner, several petitions were lodged disputing the election of Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika. The challenges of the results of the election alleged widespread irregularities, including constitutional and statutory breaches. The matter was certified as a constitutional matter by the Chief Justice, and you, Honorable Judge, were appointed as one of the judges constituting the Constitutional Court. And there were 5 judges that were appointed. After deliberations, and I think the whole world was watching, the court came to the conclusion that the presidential election of 21 May 2019 had been marred by various irregularities and anomalies that were very widespread, systematic, and grave, such that the integrity of the results had been seriously compromised. In this regard, the court concluded that the results declared by the Commission could not be trusted as a true reflection of the will of the voters. I really think making such a decision took a lot of courage and integrity on your part and your colleagues in the Constitutional Court. That particular decision was really an integral and highly influential part of your career as a judicial officer. It speaks to your boldness. It speaks to the highest levels of juristic quality and reasoning. It speaks to the impact that the court's decision has had on electoral processes, not just in Malawi, but on the whole continent. Now, later in that year, after the pronouncement of the decision, along with your colleagues on the Constitutional Court, you were then awarded the 2020 Chatham House Prize by the Royal Institute of International Affairs of the United Kingdom. Chatham House stated at the time that when standards of democratic governance were under threat, not only in Africa, but in many democracies around the world, Malawi's Constitutional Court judges set an example for their peers across the world by upholding the centrality of the rule of law and separation of powers. So I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you, Justice Kapindu, for making such a bold and progressive decision which has enriched jurisprudence on electoral petitions on the continent. Thank you so much. I will now invite the Honorable Minister of Justice of Namibia, Yvonne Dowsab, to come and give us her remarks. Thank you very much.
Normally people rise when ministers walk. I'm joking, Prof. I'm joking.
So just to read, in recognition of many years of consistent, dedicated and labored efforts towards the advancements of human rights, especially in relation to gender equality, women's rights, children's rights, rights of persons with disabilities, and the LGBTQI+ community rights, on the occasion of the LM graduation ceremony, 9 December 2022. It's my great honor and privilege to hand the Vera Chirwa Award to Yvonne Dowsab, Honorable Minister Dowsab.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How are you? Congratulations. Nice to see you. Usually, I'm the oldest alumni. I don't know whether there's anyone from 2000 or 2001 in the house. No one. So I'm the veteran of the class. Wow, what a moment. Director of Proceedings, thank you for this great opportunity and the platform to share a few thoughts. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Pretoria, of which I'm a proud alumna, Dean of the Faculty of Law, whom I had the privilege of meeting, albeit virtually, Director of the Center, a man that contributed greatly to enhancing my understanding of human rights work. Distinguished laureates of this incredible award, alumni of particularly the LLM program, present, the 2022 graduates, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Just last week, I was invited by the Southern African Human Rights Defender Network. And when they asked me to make key remarks, I was wondering, what can a member of the executive tell rights defenders with various accolades, credentials, and torture marks about human rights? But wait a minute, I thought. Since when is human rights defending the purview of rights defenders rather than all of us? Did I not take an oath to uphold the Constitution? The Vera Chirwa Human Rights Award epitomizes courage, hope, and incredible strength in the face of adversity. It is a sharp reminder of the important role played by human rights defenders in their various dimensions. It personally reminds me of the many women and children that lost their lives as a result of gender and sexual violence. I'm reminded of the many women and men that are tortured in some jurisdictions because they stand up to improve the lives of others. The rising relentlessness of our people, the increasing and gaping divide between the so-called rich and the most vulnerable in our societies, the increasing violence and sense of exclusion by persons with disabilities and those with albinism in particular, should worry us as country collectives and African collectives. I'm reminded of many binding constitutions of our jurisdictions in terms of rights and obligations, yet exclude the LGBTQI community from its full benefits in terms of equality before the law and access to basic services. When we choose to interpret the non-discrimination and dignity provisions in a manner that it suits our view of the world, then we have a problem. And this is why receiving this award also reminds me of the incredible courage of Unity Dao, and specifically in the matter of the Attorney General of Botswana versus Unity Dao in the citizenship case. Recently, I saw a tweet of a bar in South Africa where allegedly black people could not enter without being accompanied by a white person. That incident reminded me of Sarah Tlupekile Longwe when she took on Intercontinental Hotel, who wouldn't then allow Zambian women to enter the hotel without being accompanied. The incredible courage of many of my classmates of 2001 and pioneers of 2000 and the cohort of human rights defenders delivered through 22 years of the Center of Human Rights LLM program are all potential awardees. Awards acknowledge our small and big contributions. Many of our individual and collective actions shapes the world in which we live. And to support my point about courage being a fluid concept of actions of varying degrees and nature, Shimamanda Adichie, while speaking at the Humboldt Forum, showed how courage and hope are intertwined. Truth is, in the end, I had to figure out what is courage for me. I needed to understand courage in the context of what I do, in my various capacities over the years, and more pertinently, as the Minister of Justice in Namibia, an important portfolio in the overall human rights paradigm. Courage in this context therefore means some activities associated with courage, such as standing up or speaking up for what is right, even if you don't win the argument for the day, undertaking the law reform activity, even if there is no immediate change, the landscape of human rights area you want to improve. It is still courageous to let others, especially in leadership, know what your thoughts are around human rights issues more generally, but in recent times, my views on the LGBTQI+ question in the Namibian context more specifically. Courage is to raise your hand when no one sees, but also not to be scared to do so publicly when the moment calls for it. Platforms and opportunities are created to enable dialogue and to share a story that may require an individual and collective response for the betterment of that situation. I accept the honor of this award, not because I'm the most deserving, but because I'm getting an opportunity to undertake more acts of courage that will culminate in meeting the aspiration of all our people, when no one is left out or left behind, where a struggle approach to human rights, as famously coined by our late Professor Haynes, must be anchored in contemplation. Borrowing from Michel Leroux and Dennis Davis, increasingly the human rights debate has located itself in a new culture of lawfare. While it has limits, law must increasingly be used as a tool to enhance social justice because it is likely to be transformative. Getting this award acknowledges that political activity is just as important, and in fact, lawfare must be a last resort, and only if political leadership fails. But choosing the one over the other does not also mean the one or the other has failed. Albie Sachs, in his phenomenal work titled Protecting Human Rights in a New South Africa, says, and I quote, "If a constitution is binding on all, it should speak on behalf of all and give its protection to all," end of quote. Supported by Justice Cameron as enunciated in Justice, a Personal Account, where he acknowledges, and I agree with him, After many years of independence in Namibia, 32 years, and in South Africa, it's been 28 years since the 1994 transformative agenda was introduced through a life-changing constitution that, and I quote, "We have more freedom, more debate, and direct engagement with each other, and certainly more, what he calls, and I quote, practically tangible social justice, but all is not well," end of quote. You will agree with me. While we cannot feed people the Constitution or the law, we do place our aspiration in our Constitution. It is a token of our hope for now and for the future. If we are to imagine the Africa we want, as enunciated in the African Union Agenda 2063, we must all do our part in the various spaces we find ourselves. And we must do so with understanding, empathy, and non-judgmental support. The laureates I share this award with, and those before us, are signs of hope. They are the future we must imagine, and the contemplation of a social contract we have with the sovereigns, as in one, and I quote, "in which a constitution is a viable framework for the practical play of power needed to secure our future beyond our current problems," end of quote. Sometimes an award is not a token of great work achieved, but rather the potential of greater courage contemplated for work envisaged for the future. This award is for all of us, for the little we do to make this world, this continent, and our countries a better place to live in. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Please, I suppose, Primrose.
And now, Justice Kapindu, please come. Just as a heads up, we are currently having load shedding, and the power might be back any time from now. So if the room goes dark, just give us a few minutes. We're going back to ESCOM. Thanks.
It is my great privilege and honor to hand this award, the Vera Chirwa Award, to Redson Edward Kapindu in recognition of his professional contributions to the advancement of human rights in Africa, especially in relation to his involvement in strengthening Malawi's constitutional democracy at a time of potential great peril. Thank you very much for accepting this reward. We look forward to your remarks. Thank you very much, Justice.
The Director of Proceedings, the Vice Chancellor of the University, I believe in his absence, the Dean of Law, Director of the Center for Human Rights, Professor Franz, my very good professor, and all faculty staff present, our Malawian High Commissioner, Her Excellency Mrs. Stilandau, my Vera Chirwa Prize co-awardee for this year, the Honorable Minister Yvonne Dosab from Namibia, graduating students in various disciplines are present here, and I would like to say congratulations to you all for your distinguished achievement. I came with my firstborn daughter, Chisomo, who is here. I should acknowledge her. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to begin by saying that I accept this award with great humility and with deep gratitude. As I accept the award, I am keenly mindful of the high distinction that the Vera Chirwa Prize represents. As a Malawian citizen, I know a few remarks have been made about Vera Chirwa, but allow me to say a few more remarks as a Malawian citizen and, of course, myself as a firm devotee of human rights and constitutional democracy about the woman after whom this prize has been named. This award represents a call to all graduates of the LLM in human rights and democratization in Africa to work towards the excellence, the distinction, the bravery, the integrity, and the great valor of Dr. Vera Chirwa. Dr. Chirwa is a great daughter not only of the Republic of Malawi, but of the African soil, one of the first female lawyers on the entire continent. Vera Chirwa and her equally highly esteemed husband, Oton Chingole Chirwa, QC, during the difficult days of authoritarian rule in Malawi, both as accused persons during their sham of a trial in the 1980s and as political prisoners, stood with their heads raised high as fearless and unfazed fighters of human rights and democratization in Malawi and beyond. Dr. Vera Chirwa served with distinction in various capacities, including as a two-term commissioner of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and as a special rapporteur on prisons and conditions of detention in Africa. And I can go on and on and on about the distinguished credentials of Vera Chirwa, the great lady after whom this award has been named. You will therefore understand, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, how greatly humbled and honored I feel to receive the great recognition that the Vera Chirwa Award represents. I am also keenly aware that among the principal factors that motivated the decision to confer this award, as was eloquently articulated here, was the nature and context of some of the judicial work and decisions that I have recently been involved in, and some of which decisions were rendered collectively with others. In that regard, I view this award not just as a personal recognition of my own work, but also as a collective recognition and reflection of the national and Pan-African pride that the institution of the Malawi judiciary, to which I belong, brings to the Republic of Malawi and to the great continent of Africa at large. This award shall, to me, remain a constant reminder of the vision of an Africa that Dr. Vera Chirwa, the Center for Human Rights, the University of Pretoria, and like-minded universities and other institutions, and indeed myself personally, would wish to see realized. It is an Africa that I still hope to see in my lifetime. It shall remain a constant reminder that a sustainably developmental, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, non-class-based, and corrupt-free Africa, based on the values of respect for Ubuntu and human dignity, remains achievable, and that at present we should be realistic, however, to admit that we are not there yet as a continent. In many parts of Africa, democracy remains under serious threat. Unlawful military takeovers without consequence are re-emerging on our continent. The African Union, notwithstanding its instruments and resolutions proscribing such conduct, seems like a mere paper tiger to tame them. Elsewhere on the continent, free expression remains highly elusive. Unfair discrimination on various grounds and great intolerance amongst ourselves as Africans remain rife. Such declarations as the Durban Declaration on the matter remain but a hollow ring. Political rights that give people a say in the running of public affairs are often manipulated or suffocated. The list of these enduring challenges is long. We therefore, as the peoples of Africa, have our work cut out for ourselves to work towards the achievement of that shared vision of a truly democratic Africa where human rights thrive. Let us remind ourselves of the words of the late Professor Christoph Hens, whom my Kowadi also referenced in his writings, that human rights are realized through struggle. In the words made famous by the late Mozambican President Samora Machel, we should continue to say to ourselves, a luta continua. To our colleagues who have just graduated today in the LLM program on human rights and democratization in Africa, my call to you is that may this vision of a democratic Africa in which human rights thrive remain your lifetime project. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with these remarks, with great humility, that once again I accept the Vera Chirwa Award, and also in a very special way congratulate my co-awardee for receiving the same honor this year. I thank you all.
Thank you, Justice Kapindu. Prof Schoeman, whenever she's talking to me, she always reminds me, girl, your family is global. It's true. I do have Malawian family, the Kanjeras, and your boldness and your courage, I saw what it did for them and how it redefined Malawi as the heart and the warmth of Southern Africa, which looks out for everyone in terms of equality and justice. Thank you, Justice. Next up are the Best Academic Achievements Awards, which are going to be presented by Prof. Magnus Magikilanda. Thank you.
Okay, so you wouldn't have seen me on the program because the academic prizes were supposed to be on the academic program, but it somehow fell off. And here I am, even if you have seen me quite a lot during the academic year. So it gives me great pleasure to present the academic prizes. We have 3 of them, all named after men for some reason. But all our recipients are women, which is very nice. So let's start with the Victor Dankwa Prize, which is for the best performance in Module 4, which, for those of you who don't know our module system, deals with the African human rights system. So it's really the France Filou Award, if one could also call it. But Victor Dankwa was a member of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, professor of law at the University of Ghana, who is, I think, still a little bit active, but very much in retirement since many years back. And the winner of this prize is Elim Shanko. Winners gets these nice plaques. It has place here for hanging on the wall. And And we go to the next award, the Keba Mbaye Prize for the best dissertation. Keba Mbaye was famous Senegalese jurist, a member of the International Court of Justice. We also had a book recently published that you can read about how he has inspired various international law aspects. And the winner of this award is Husinato Manyang. And then we have the last prize. Comes like an African map like this, just as the Vera Chirwa Awards. It's the Nelson Mandela Prize. I don't think we need to introduce him. And that is given to Farirai Sibanda.
Thank you, Prof. Kilanda. A wise man once said to me, Ruvarashe. Ruvarashe is my Shona name, which means God's flower, God's blossom. Ruvarashe, hatred has spoken for so long. Greed has spoken for so long. Liars have spoken for so long. Love needs to stop whispering. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ubuntu Prize is awarded to students who have been the embodiment of love, care, and compassion. My dear, I still remember when I assumed my role and you had just lost your mother. I spoke to you and you were utterly broken, grieving, and rightfully so, for grief is the onset of healing. And to think that amidst such grief, you still had love, enough love left to spread around to your classmates, that is phenomenal. And that makes you Maya Angelou's phenomenal woman, Afuadua. As I was telling the votes, another name kept coming up. Reader. I'm thinking, I do not know a brother from a bar of soap. Who is this? And that is character right there. When your character and your dignity speak volumes for you in your absence. Audience, our Ubuntu Prize winners for 2022 are two, Ms. Afuadua and Mr. Benkrada Mohammed Rida. Please come. Oh, sweet. Then finally, before I hand over to Prof. Franz Viljoen, I would like to give my personal appreciation and acknowledgement to my colleagues who have helped me in this new role, which I recently assumed. To my two sisters, Emily Lopsha and Carol Viljoen, thank you for showing me the ropes and when and where to stand my ground. And because of principle, perhaps we have become somewhat of the three witches of the Center for Human Rights, and immediately takes me back to Shakespeare's Macbeth, his famous play. In the opening scene, Act 1, Scene 1, the three witches are seen departing as we are now towards the end of the year, and rhetorically asking each other, as I am to ask you now, when shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain, when the hurly-burly is done, when the battle's lost and won. Shakespeare, Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 1. But I would also add, dear Shakespeare, I know when. January 2023. I look forward to working with you next year. Mr. Sam Chamboko, Mr. Lloyd Kuvea, Prof. Magnus Kilanda, Prof. Franz Viljoen, Prof. Elsa Biskuman, thank you very much. My down-to-earth, fun-loving self always had to ensure she had a consistent cast of entertainers. And those were there, starting with my dear Busi, my fellow sportswoman, rugby player, Mr. Yusuf Sayad, Pumeza, and Bonolo. The DJ himself, Dr. Trezo Makunya, thank you for the Rumba beats. For taking care of me as your baby sister, Miss Rutendo Shinomona, Budi Sydney, and Queen Esther for diligently cleaning my office. Throughout this graduation week, the following teams made me look so good, I am grateful. Starting with the media team, Mr. Simpiwe Kumalo, Mr. Tendam Sinahama, Andile Mhlelen, David Ikpo, Nana. The HPC hotel team, Ms. Julianne O'Donoghue, Mr. Fana Mhluli, and Ms. Marina Fafe. Thank you very much. To our designated drivers, Sam and Max Motileng, thank you as well. I would like to thank my family, finally. Professor Primrose Kurasha, Professor Jameson Kurasha, and Dr. Flora Kurasha. I always say your knees keep me standing. Prof. Franz, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Primrose. So I think on the program it says announcement of internship, doctoral scholarships, and word of thanks. But I think we have to invert the order, right? So the word of thanks will come so that there's a bit of more suspense for the announcement that will be the highlight of my address. So I first would like to thank the Honourable Minister and the Honourable Judge, Yvonne and Redson. They are really stalwarts of also the long history of the HRDA program. You heard 2001 and 2004. So it's not the reason why you were awarded today because of longevity, but because of the clear sense of humility and the sense of where you are located that came through in your words and your address to us today. We are so proud. Personally, it is so heartwarming for me to be able to stand here and recognize your accomplishments and to see you also igniting, I think, the spirit of Vera Chirwa in the minds and in the temperaments and the resolve of our class of 2022. Thank you so much for accepting the award and being with us today. It was mentioned that this event really takes place in the shadow of the International Human Rights Day, 10 December. In fact, we invited some people and they said, yes, we'll see you on the 10th. We'll be there on Saturday. So so much is the idea of the 10th ingrained in this program. So in a sense, the 9th sounds or feels in a sense wrong. And it's also been mentioned that the Saturday tomorrow will mark the beginning of 75 years since the adoption of the Universal Declaration, which in a sense is the framework within which we operate. But it should be noted that this master's program has been around for 23 years. That would be almost a quarter of the life of the Universal Declaration being around. So it is a mark of I think, the work of the alumni in particular, the graduating students in the continent, on the continent and elsewhere that have made this possible for this program to survive, not only survive, but prosper and keep reaching greater and greater heights. So thank you to all who've been involved in these 23 years of the master's program, and I will come to specific individuals now. The name of Professor Christoph Heinz, as someone on whose shoulders we stand, had been mentioned a number of times, and I would want to do that again, acknowledging Christoph's role in this program's birth and growth, and so many other elements of our program. I also acknowledge people's grief and loss among the students, among all of us in these difficult times. But for us as a collective, I also want to note the loss of one of our alumni in the course of the year not so long ago. In the class of 2000, in fact, so not many of you will know him personally, but some of us had met him. His name is Idi Gaparai. He was in the pioneers. That's a term we also reserve for the group of 2000, the first group. He was, among others, doing an internship. At the time, there was an internship with the International Court of Justice, or the International Criminal Court. And he was later also the head of school of the University of Kigali. So just a moment of reflection also for the loss, the collective loss of us as alumni of this program. I move on to thank also then the University of Pretoria. You know, here we are in this wonderful venue, the facilities, the support from Professor Coupe, the principal, and also then Professor Ferris, who was here today as the vice principal. But in particular, I think to the Faculty of Law, all the colleagues in the faculty that support us, but in principle, the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Professor Skuman. You could hear effusive praises to us in the center, and that also is really reflective of her support since she's taken up the position of the Dean. We really depend very much on that institutional support, and thank you very much for your presence here. The afternoon has turned into early evening. We appreciate you being here with us through this process. The HRDA team, I think, first of all, there is the manager. Dr. Ashwani Buddha was here. She's here for also introducing her doctoral candidate. We congratulate also the doctoral candidates and Ashwani, your candidate. Thanks for your elegant way of dealing with crisis, your equanimity. And her role was later taken over by Dr. Primrose Kurasha. Here, we thank you very much for stepping in for the seamless transition and also for your determined professionalism that shines through everything that you do. There is also the position of the coordinator, the one who works more closely with the students. This has been Johannes Boabeng Baidu's task for many, many years now. His term with us at the HRDA has also now come to an end. So, Johannes, we celebrate the years that you've been this liaison between the center, the HRDA academics, and the students. Often, Johannes had really gone beyond the call of duty and walked the extra mile for students. And he's always the voice that advanced the cause of the students among the team. So thank you for your years of contributions. Then there's the alumni coordinator. Also in the course of the year, it changed from Tomiwa Ilori to Davina Murden here. Both of them, I think, had shown that they really are dedicated to the cause of the alumni, and we thank them very much for their contributions. The tutors have been mentioned, Wilson, Clement, Lorna, and Maristella, for their contributions to the program. The clinical supervisors, the class representatives, Anela also mentioned them. We thank all of them. It takes a team effort to make this program a success at the center. But no one's role is more important than the role of the academic coordinator. Professor Gilande here, I will call him a center stalwart, an institutional pillar, an academic inspiration. And I think each of you have a way of referring to him that I'm sure is personal to you. I can just mention that it is quite a milestone for us as well, that Magnus came here as an intern, became a tutor, became academic coordinator, associate professor, full professor, and this all happened in the space of 20 years. So we celebrate, Magnus, your 20 years, also time spent very productively with us in the Center for Human Rights. Thank you so much. I think Primrose mentioned the fact that this is a team effort across the board. The office manager, the finance manager, the whole team in the center would always be involved in what we do, and we thank everyone sincerely. But I must just single out my two co-managers, essentially, in the center. who is now known as Professor Nkata Murungi. We really find, and I would thank you very much. I would say the words I use for you is your wide counsel, your wise counsel, your wide-ranging view. You always brought into the discussions also concerning the students a broader view, a bird's eye view, so to say, and wise counsel. Thank you very much for supporting our team and this program. And then also to Lloyd Kuvea, who really I appreciate very much. I would say he's encouraging enthusiasm, measured enthusiasm, that's always there in a very supportive way, has also made us stronger as a center, very much so, and also assisted us in the running and the management of this program. Thank you very much to you both. The student administration at the university, I think they have gone already, but we have to acknowledge them. Is this being recorded? We can show them that. But we sincerely acknowledge, because this is, honestly speaking, the only program that is not presented in two of the main graduation ceremony periods. It's the only program that is exceptional, and we understand that it takes exceptional measures, and it makes it difficult to have this program, graduation, taking place every year. We really, really appreciate the accommodation for the uniqueness of this program in so many ways to our student administration and everyone else involved. Teachers on the program, our sign language interpreters for the year that were with us, second semester coordinators, and supervisors, co-supervisors, all of you contributed. But let me emphasize the role of our partners, 12 partners together with us at the center. Their names have been mentioned, but I think it has to be emphasized that the program really, and in a very concrete way, would not be possible without the role and the inputs, contributions of our various partner institutions. And institutions also mean individuals, those of our partners who are here and always have been so supportive of the program. We have not, we have to acknowledge you, and we gladly acknowledge you as part of the growth of the program over 23 years. The Chair of Council, you heard her speak lovely words and inspirational thoughts shared, Professor Mariam Usang Asim. Maria, thank you so much for your contributions over the year. And we appreciate you and know that you will be still part of our journey going ahead. And I can just also announce, congratulate, and wish the best to Dr. Daniel Ruhezwa from Makerere University, who will be the next Chair of Council. So the cycle continues, and we know that we're in safe hands. Thank you so much for agreeing to be there. The donors have been mentioned, but they can certainly be mentioned again. The European Union, you see on the program that we distributed, the Global Campus of Africa with the European Union emblem, is not only this program, it has to be noted that the European Union supports, but a conglomerate of programs, the 7 programs that make up the Global Campus of Human Rights. So they're invested in this notion, this ideal, this movement towards securing human rights and reinforcing democracy in the world. We thank them for having been there since the year 2000, so also for the 23 years of this program. In fact, we hope together with you that you will agree that the investment you've made as the European Union has, in a sense, in a very concrete sense, paid off if one looks around the continent, if you look at the potential of this group of graduating students. Together with the European Union, they give a lot, but not everything. They give us, 80%, we do for 20%, and that in real terms is not insignificant. So I just mentioned also the Dutch government that actually give a particular scholarship for a student who is openly LGBTIQ+, so a specific scholarship that also is awarded every year, and the student has been given the scholarship. Also for the Norwegian government through its embassy here in Pretoria for a number of internships that they support, and the Right Livelihood Foundation for the work on children's rights that we are able to do as a center. So to the class of 2022, I think you've had an excellent class representative. Honestly, the remarks you made was a tour de force. I think it shows the intimate knowledge, the way it just symbolized for me the kind of benefit that the year living and being together really brings, the intimacy of knowledge and the bonds that are built for, hopefully for life, depending on the professional and personal bonds that you have made among each other. But I think collectively as a group, you are so much stronger because you have these linkages with others. And I think your remarks reinforced and highlighted that very, very clearly to us. I always try to characterize the group, and I'll revert to alliteration. I think I found among you, apart from the characteristics already shared, immense intensity, but combined with a consistent and careful curiosity. So intellectual curiosity certainly is one of the groups with the highest number of distinctions, one of the groups that engaged with topics, with lecturers. Whenever a lecturer came and departed, they were uniformly impressed by the form and the depth and the challenging engagement that you brought as a group. So congratulations to you for the year here, for having been and successfully completed this course or on the verge of doing so. I also know that in a sense the other alliteration that I'll invoke would be that I found in your group a singular kind of balance between fragility and fortitude. Yes, there were certain difficulties and challenges and issues, but also this fortitude to transcend this and to somehow, be together as a group and make the best of this and see how we can take issues that have arisen forward with us. So congratulations to each and every one of you. I think you've been given many inspirational thoughts. Perhaps I'll just say that I can revert to the image of the butterfly. The butterfly is the image of logo of the center, as you know. Well, why is it the butterfly? Because it's beautiful and colorful, right? But it's also because of that idea that when a butterfly's wings, or a butterfly flaps its wings in one part of the world, the butterfly effect, right? We're familiar with that it may have unexpected consequences in far-off corners of the world. So that idea that some small act, an act of kindness, an act of human rights intervention here may have great repercussions and effects. So to you, I wish basically just, a flight, fly, flap your wings, be colorful, but also make that change. Be aware of the strength and capacities that hopefully you have, what has been added to you. We hope we've added to the already considerable talents and competencies that you had, and that you will take what we've added and that you'll fly high. With that, I come to the announcements of our internships and our doctoral candidates. So first of all, I'm very, I'll recall that we were visited by members of the secretariats of the African Commission and the Committee on the Rights of the Child yesterday. And they came and they pleaded with us and said, well, we have an intern there. We can't hardly call the person an intern because she actually authored significant policy documents while she was there. We want you to please just find the money so that she can be kept there, maybe forever, because we want the Center for Human Rights, legal professionals, people who graduate from this program are treasured and appreciated. So I'm saying this also to just highlight the added value, hopefully, that is there for each one of you, but also the opportunity for these specific individuals. There are many factors that come into play, and it's just the fortune that favored these few. But we know that you will be good ambassadors, and you'll use these opportunities well, we are very sure. So the first, I'll announce, and I'm sure that will be a very popular choice, for the Committee on the Rights of the Child, Husainatu Manjang from the Gambia. So you can just acknowledge yourself. There's no handing over. The plane ticket will be given to you in due course, and the arrangements will be made. So congratulations to Husainatu. Going to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights in far-off Gambia will be Meron Birhanu from Ethiopia. And then there's one that is kind of a slash. We advertise it as Pan-African Parliament, but we also have ECOSOC. So we will ascertain exactly how this will be allocated, Pan-African Parliament, ECOSOC, and the person, and it's all three women as well, in these three categories so far, is Ferarai Sibanda. Well, there's one left, the fourth one, and that goes to Mosipatsila Nare. That is the African Court on Human and People's Rights in Arusha, Mosipatsila Nare. So congratulations to, and good luck. There are great expectations, but also wonderful opportunities awaiting the four of you. Then I should announce that the HRDA coordinator, we mentioned that Johannes will no longer hold that position next year, that Rutondwa Mashige, as South African, will be holding that position. She is an alumna from a previous year, and she will be taking on that responsibility next year. Rutondwa, congratulations in your absence. We will soon liaise with her. Then the last category would be those who are going to stay behind, so to say, and be tutors and doctoral candidates. And again, they were, because of factors affecting our cohort of tutors, it is quite exceptional that this year there are 3 vacancies. Usually there would be 1 vacancy because of the cycles. So there's 1 person from this year and 2 people from previous years. I'll mention the people from previous years who have now been selected. There's Henok Ashagray from Ethiopia. He was from the class of 2018. Henok will join us and will do a PhD and be a tutor next year. And the second is Jared Gekombe from Kenya. He's from the class of 2016, and he will be another tutor and doctoral candidate. And then the last from the current class will be Vera Chirwa from the class of 22. And so we seem to have quite a Malawian evening here. So congratulations also from Malawi, where we know that you are from, and we wish all of these recipients best of the opportunities. Once again, from my side, take the opportunities that you find. We hope that you will find that this year has served to at least make you understand better what it is that you personally need to or can do in terms of the challenges around human rights and democratization in Africa. I think if we could just have helped you clarify your own sense of how, where, and in what way you could contribute, then I think we would have contributed. So our best wishes accompany you. Once again, congratulations, and thank you again to everyone concerned. Thank you.
I guess that's it for the day. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.